The afternoon sun filtered through the windows of the Henderson Family Center as 37-year-old CEO Marcus Henderson made his way through the facility during one of his monthly undercover visits. Dressed in a simple navy blue suit without his usual corporate insignia, Marcus preferred to observe his company's charitable operations without the fanfare that typically accompanied executive inspections. Henderson Industries had established the Family Center 3 years ago as part of their community outreach program, providing temporary housing, childcare, and support services for families experiencing financial hardship. Marcus believed strongly in hands-on leadership, wanting to see firsthand how the programs he funded actually served the people they were designed to help. As he walked through the common areas, Marcus noticed the usual activities: children playing in the supervised play area, adults attending job training workshops, and families sharing meals in the community dining room. But it was a scene in the small kitchen area that stopped him in his tracks. A young woman, perhaps in her mid-20s, stood at the utility sink with her back to him. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she wore simple clothes that suggested both cleanliness and financial constraint. What caught Marcus's attention was not the woman herself, but what she was doing and who was with her. The woman was carefully hand-washing what appeared to be a small pair of jeans, scrubbing them thoroughly under the running water. On her back, secured in a colorful baby carrier, was a little boy who appeared to be about 2 years old. The child was clutching a green stuffed dinosaur and resting his head against his mother's shoulder, clearly tired but content to be close to her. Marcus watched as the woman worked methodically, rinsing the jeans and then wringing them out with practiced efficiency. Her movements spoke of someone who had done this many times before, someone for whom hand-washing clothes was not a choice but a necessity. "There we go, sweetie," she said softly to the child on her back. "Your dinosaur jeans will be clean and dry by tomorrow morning." The little boy made a contented sound and adjusted his grip on his stuffed dinosaur, clearly comfortable despite the unusual circumstances of getting his clothes washed while being carried around. Marcus felt a mixture of admiration and concern as he observed this scene. Here was a mother who was clearly doing everything possible to care for her child despite obvious financial limitations. The fact that she was washing clothes by hand suggested that she either did not have access to laundry facilities or could not afford to use them. "Excuse me," Marcus said gently, approaching the woman. "I am sorry to interrupt, but I could not help noticing that you are hand-washing clothes. Are you having trouble with the laundry facilities here?" The woman turned, and Marcus could see that she was indeed young, with tired but kind eyes and a face that showed both determination and exhaustion. "Oh, hello," she replied, clearly unsure about discussing her situation with a stranger. "The laundry machines work fine. I just cannot afford the quarters to run them right now, and Tommy here had an accident with his lunch. These are his only other pair of pants." Marcus felt his heart sink as he realized the implications of what she was saying. This woman was so financially constrained that she could not afford the few dollars necessary to wash her child's clothes in a machine. "I am David," Marcus said, using the alias he employed during his undercover visits. "And what are your names?" "I am Rachel, and this is Tommy," the woman replied, shifting slightly so that the little boy could see the stranger his mother was talking to. "Hi Tommy," Marcus said gently, offering a small wave to the toddler. "I like your dinosaur." Tommy smiled shyly and held up his stuffed animal. "Rex," he said simply. "Rex is a very good name for a dinosaur," Marcus agreed, then turned back to Rachel. "Rachel, may I ask how long you and Tommy have been staying here?" "About 2 weeks. We had to leave our apartment when I lost my job at the diner. The manager here said we could stay for up to 60 days while I look for work and try to get back on our feet." Marcus could see the embarrassment in Rachel's expression as she explained their circumstances, but he also saw the fierce love and protectiveness she felt for her son. "What kind of work are you looking for?" "Anything, really. I have experience in food service, retail, and basic office work. But it is hard to interview when you do not have reliable childcare, and it is hard to afford childcare when you do not have a job yet. Marcus recognized the classic catch-22 that trapped so many single parents in cycles of poverty. Rachel, what would be most helpful to you right now in terms of getting back to work? Rachel was quiet for a moment, clearly weighing how much to share with this friendly stranger. Honestly, I need interview clothes that look professional, a way to get Tommy cared for during interviews, and probably some help with basic expenses like laundry and transportation until I can get a paycheck. Those all sound like reasonable needs, Marcus replied. Have you spoken with the case managers here about assistance programs? Yes, they have been wonderful. They helped me apply for some government assistance programs, but those take time to process. And they have given me information about job training programs, but most of them require me to have stable childcare first. Marcus could see that Rachel was caught in a web of bureaucratic requirements that made it nearly impossible to move forward despite her obvious motivation and capability. Rachel, would you mind if I asked you something personal? What do you want most for Tommy's future? Rachel's expression softened as she looked at her son, who had fallen asleep against her shoulder despite the noise and activity around them. I want him to grow up knowing that his mother never gave up, no matter how hard things got. I want him to have opportunities one never had. And I want him to understand that being poor does not mean being worthless, and that taking help when you need it is not something to be ashamed of. Marcus felt deeply moved by Rachel's answer. Here was a woman who understood both dignity and humility, who was fighting for her child's future while maintaining her values and self-respect. Rachel, I work for a company that partners with this facility to help families get back on their feet. Would you be willing to let me see what resources might be available to help with some of your immediate needs? I would be grateful for any help, Rachel replied. But I want to work for whatever assistance I receive. I do not want charity. I want opportunity. I understand completely. Let me make some phone calls and see what we can arrange. The next morning, Marcus returned to the family center in his official capacity as CEO, accompanied by the center's director and several members of his corporate social responsibility team. Ms. Johnson, he said to the director, I would like to implement an immediate expansion of our job placement and family support programs, starting with some specific cases that have come to my attention. Over the next hour, Marcus outlined a comprehensive support plan that would provide emergency assistance for basic needs like laundry and transportation, access to professional clothing through a partnership with local retailers, on-site childcare during job interviews and training programs, and direct placement opportunities with Henderson Industries and their partner companies. Sir, Ms. Johnson said, this is a wonderful expansion of services. What prompted this sudden initiative? I realized that we were providing housing and basic support, but we were not addressing some of the practical barriers that prevent people from actually transitioning back to self-sufficiency. Sometimes the difference between dependence and independence is something as simple as access to clean clothes and reliable childcare. That afternoon, Marcus found Rachel in the same kitchen area where he had first encountered her, but this time she was preparing a snack for Tommy rather than washing clothes. Rachel, he said, approaching her with a warm smile, I wanted to follow up on our conversation yesterday. Oh, hello David, Rachel replied, clearly pleased to see the friendly stranger again. Tommy and I were just having some crackers. Would you like to join us? I would love to, Marcus said, accepting a cracker from Tommy, who giggled at having a grown-up accept food from him. Rachel, I have some good news. The company I work for has decided to expand their support programs here, and you are going to be one of the first families to benefit. Over the next few minutes, Marcus explained the new services that would be available, including immediate assistance with basic needs, professional clothing, childcare during interviews, and a guaranteed interview for a customer service position at Henderson Industries that offered full benefits and flexible scheduling for parents. David, this sounds too good to be true, Rachel said, tears forming in her eyes. Why would your company do all this? Because we believe that everyone deserves a chance to succeed, and because we have learned that small investments in individual families can create lasting positive changes for entire communities. What is the name of your company? I want to make sure I thank them properly. Marcus smiled, realizing that his moment of truth had arrived. Henderson Industries. And Rachel, I should tell you something. My name is not actually David. I am Marcus Henderson, the CEO of the company. Rachel stared at him in shock, clearly trying to process this revelation. You are the CEO? But why were you here yesterday, talking to people like me? Because the only way to understand how our programs really work is to see them through the eyes of the people they are supposed to serve. And because yesterday, watching you care for Tommy with such love and determination while facing such difficult circumstances, reminded me why we do this work in the first place. 6 months later, Rachel sat in her own apartment, watching Tommy play with his dinosaur collection while she prepared for another day at her new job as a customer service supervisor at Henderson Industries. The position had led to opportunities for advancement and additional training, and she was now working toward an associate degree in business administration with full tuition support from the company. Mama, Tommy said, looking up from his toys, can we visit the family center today? I want to show Rex to the other kids. Yes, sweetheart, we can visit this afternoon, Rachel replied, thinking about how they now return to the center as volunteers, with Rachel helping other single mothers navigate the job search process. That evening, as they walked through the center's common areas, Rachel reflected on how dramatically their lives had changed because a CEO had chosen to see his programs through the eyes of the people they served. Tommy, she said as they prepared to leave, do you remember when we used to live here? A little bit, Tommy replied. I remember washing my pants in the sink with you. That is right. And what do you remember about that? Tommy thought for a moment with the seriousness of a 2.5-year-old. I remember you took care of me even when it was hard. Rachel hugged her son, understanding that the most important lesson from their time at the family center was not about the assistance they had received, but about the love and determination that had carried them through their darkest moments. The CEO who had discovered a single mother washing clothes in a sink had learned that the most effective social programs are not just about providing services, but about recognizing the dignity and potential in every person who needs help. And the single mother who had been washing her child's clothes by hand had discovered that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply continue caring for those you love, even when the circumstances seem impossible. Because you never know who might be watching, and you never know how your quiet acts of love might inspire others to create the changes that transform entire communities.